Strict lockdown rules are driving foreigners out of Shanghai. A survey shows many of them plan to leave or are debating the option. A top supplier for Apple and Tesla faces widespread infections at its factory in Shanghai. 3 workers reveal the situation inside. Photos capture empty shelves in Beijing as panic buying begins. Residents there say they are worried about another possible lockdown to stem COVID-19 infection rates. A university in New York rescinds its acceptance letter to a Chinese student, all because of a post on Chinese social media following a recent shooting. And an unusual agreement between the Wuhan lab and its partner at a U.S. university. Part of the deal, asking one another to erase secret files. We look at the details. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. About half of the foreigners living in Shanghai say they are planning to leave the city, while much of the other half are reportedly weighing their options. A mid-April survey was conducted via a local branch of Hong Kong Focus Media. It interviewed 950 foreigners living in Shanghai. The survey estimated that number of foreigners living in the city will be cut in half within just a year. Nearly 50% of those interviewed said they plan to leave Shanghai in the coming year, if not sometime sooner. Nearly 40% said they'll hold off on making any big moving decisions until the pandemic is over. More than half of those surveyed hold a master's degree. And more than 210,000 foreigners lived in Shanghai in 2020 before the pandemic broke out, the most among Chinese cities. Shanghai authorities announced a white list of over 600 companies in mid-April. Businesses on the list will reportedly get priority for reopening and resuming normal operations. At the same time, foreign businesses running in the city say they've had a hard time staffing their factories again because of the city's widespread lockdown orders. A mix of political and business risks have made Shanghai less attractive for investors in recent months. According to recent data from the Institute of International Finance, foreign investors are pulling money out of China on an unprecedented scale. Worth noting, other markets saw no comparable outflow during the same time period. In Shanghai, China's global financial hub, a top supplier to tech giants like Apple and Tesla is facing a major problem: widespread COVID-19 infections inside its facility. Employees of Quanta Computer Co., a Taiwan-based manufacturer that produces Tesla accessories and Apple laptops, recently revealed to the Epoch Times that thousands of workers were infected at the company's Shanghai factory, and that their calls to the outside world for help were silenced. Last week, an employee surnamed Li said he's living in one of the factory's dormitories where cross-infection happened. He said there are more than 40,000 people working at the factory, and thousands have tested positive for COVID-19. At the same time, alarms have been installed on all dormitory doors, but Li called them useless and questioned if the devices are to prevent them from leaving their rooms. Li added that despite there being so many confirmed patients, drinking water facilities and toilets are still shared in the dormitory. According to another employee surnamed Liu, many people inside are now experiencing cold-like symptoms. While their colleague surnamed Lin said the factory has now banned, quote, everyone from speaking up, adding the situation there is chaotic. We contacted the company for details, but no one answered the phone. Another top supplier for Apple iPhones, Foxconn, is stopping work at 2 factories in a city near Shanghai. That's after the company reported unspecified numbers of new virus cases on site Monday. Lockdowns could be hitting China's capital as virus cases surge and mass testing begins. Residents are scared. NTD's Don Ma brings us the story.
Some store shelves are nearly empty as panic buying breaks out in Beijing's biggest district, Chaoyang, home to more than 3 million people. Residents are scared because authorities are starting mass virus testing. If a lot of people test positive, the district could go under lockdown. All 3 million people in the district will have to get tested this week. In some areas, the lines for virus testing stretch for multiple blocks. Residents have to get tested not once, not twice. All 3 million have to get tested 3 times in 1 week, starting Monday. Amid lockdown worries, locals are crowding stores and online platforms to stock up on vegetables, meat, noodles, and toilet paper.
People are a little worried. Some online shopping platforms are being overloaded with orders, so it reflects some of the residents' worries. We are afraid if the shipping services are cut, food and supplies won't be able to meet demand.
Grocery stores in parts of Beijing are packed with people. Residents are not taking chances after seeing how Shanghai residents struggled to obtain food amid lockdowns.
We didn't think about what to stock up on. I just hope it won't be like Shanghai. I bought something easy to store. Green vegetables are definitely needed. Also some snacks for the kids.
Residents are hopeful that what happened to Shanghai won't happen to Beijing, but they're still worried.
There's definitely a certain degree of worry because locking down will affect jobs and Beijing's overall efficiency.
Residents' worries may be justified as authorities are already starting to put up lockdown fences in parts of Beijing. Don Ma, NTD News.
Columbia University in New York City recently rescinded an offer to a Chinese student due to his social media posts. The student, who is not identified, had posted on Chinese social media WeChat, saying he would buy a gun and kill Americans after arriving in the U.S.
The Chinese student was initially accepted into Columbia University's School of Engineering and Applied Science, but the university later informed the student in a letter saying that the school has no choice but to rescind the offer. The letter was circulating online earlier this week. It was signed by the executive director of graduate admissions. The letter reads, "The behavior which you admitted to engaging in, making multiple threats of violence on WeChat in response to the recent tragedy that occurred in New York City, is inconsistent with university policies and our expectations for our students and can't be tolerated." The letter also says that the school is taking these matters extremely seriously. The Epoch Times reached out to Columbia University, but the school declined to comment and said they have no additional information to provide. For many Chinese students, studying in the U.S., especially at an Ivy League school, is a stepping stone for better career opportunities or a chance to immigrate. According to Chinese social media, the students' online posts were reported to the university by members of the Great Translation Movement, or TGTM. The online movement aims to expose the CCP's anti-Western propaganda and policies to the rest of the world. They do this by translating Chinese propaganda and netizen comments into English and other languages.
The Wuhan Institute of Virology is back in the spotlight. A Freedom of Information Act request may have uncovered an agreement between it and its U.S. partner facility, a deal that allows Wuhan's partner to destroy secret files. Those files include data stemming from all of the lab's collaborative work together. Kevin Hogan with NTD News Today has more.
The legal document is a memo of understanding about cooperation. It's between the Wuhan lab and the Galveston National Laboratory at the University of Texas Medical Branch. The agreement means either of the two labs can have the other delete secret files at the other's request. The memo states, the party is entitled to ask the other to destroy and/or return the secret files, materials, and equipment without any backups. The nonprofit investigative research group called U.S. Right to Know discovered the information. The memo aims to promote research and training cooperation between the two labs. They signed it back in 2017 and is in effect until October, but according to the agreement, the terms remain binding even after it expires. The document effectively states that all documents and data are subject to a request to delete them. The Wuhan lab came back into the spotlight when the pandemic started amid growing speculation that the virus may have leaked from it. The lab denies that claim, but Beijing hasn't let anyone investigate. That has prevented any meaningful probe into the theory. The Wuhan lab and the Galveston National Laboratory partnered up to streamline their work on dangerous pathogens. That's according to a joint announcement in the journal Science. But experts say the memo about removing data raises an alarm. They say it could potentially mean the labs broke the law. For example, Reuben Gutman, a partner at Gutman, Bushner, and Brooks, told Right to Know, the clause is quite frankly explosive. Anytime I see a public entity, I would be very concerned about destroying records. The Galveston National Lab partnered with the Wuhan lab in 2013. The Texas lab's former director had made multiple trips to the Chinese lab over the years. And the Galveston lab was among the first in the world to get samples of the virus from the CDC. That was about 3 weeks after the director told his Chinese counterparts to share the material. The memo appears to contradict what scientists at the Chinese lab said. They said they would never scrub critical research information. One virologist there said allegations that her lab would do that are baseless and appalling.
Japan is funneling more effort into its Indo-Pacific alliances. On Saturday, Japan promised to bolster its military strength to help the United States maintain regional security.
Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs commented on the matter over the weekend during a visit to a U.S. aircraft carrier patrolling Asian waters.
Japan will significantly strengthen its defense capabilities and continue to work closely with the United States in order to further strengthen deterrence and coping capabilities of the Japan-U.S. alliance.
Likewise, the U.S. ambassador to Japan said the aggressors in the region are acting in bad faith and threatening peace, stability, and the values the U.S. and Japan both hold.
They are trying to rule through the exercise of raw power, to impose their will and subjugate the region to the dictates of a single individual. We are uniting like never before with our partners and allies around the globe to speak out against war and stand up for peace.
The comments come amid concern that Russia's invasion of Ukraine could encourage China to invade Taiwan. A conflict between them could threaten nearby Japanese islands. Japan has also expressed concern about Beijing's security ties with Moscow, including joint drills held in waters surrounding Japan. Alongside their remarks, Japan's minister and the U.S. ambassador watched carrier flight operations from the deck of the USS Abraham Lincoln. The carrier just conducted naval exercises with Japan's Maritime Self-Defense Force.
Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida met with his New Zealand counterpart Jacinda Ardern in Tokyo last week, talking about the situation in the Indo-Pacific region.
Unilateral actions using force to change the status quo absolutely cannot be tolerated. Japan and New Zealand are against such attempts in regions including the East and South China Seas.
As part of the plan to strengthen security ties, the two countries will begin negotiations on an information sharing agreement to support security in the region. The two countries also agreed to a stronger partnership in trade and climate. Leaders from India and Europe came together for talks this week. The head of the European Union, Ursula von der Leyen, met with Indian Prime Minister Modi in New Delhi on Monday. Von der Leyen's trip to India is part of Western efforts to encourage New Delhi to reduce ties to Russia, India's main weapons supplier. India abstained from a United Nations vote condemning Russia's invasion and has not imposed sanctions on Moscow. Von der Leyen's visit comes days after British Prime Minister Boris Johnson met with Modi. Both parties agreed to increase bilateral defense and business cooperation. Johnson was preceded by U.S. officials and the foreign ministers of Russia and China. According to Bloomberg, citing India's finance minister, India wants to be strong friends with the so-called liberal world, but it needs Russia's assistance to defend its borders. That's all for today's China in Focus on YouTube. We're now sharing a shortened version of our program on YouTube. That's after being demonetized for a year. Full episodes can be watched on our partner platform, Epoch TV. To sign up for a 14-day free trial, please click the link down below. Thanks for watching China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer, and see you tomorrow.
Every once in a while, something comes along So masterful, it leaves you in awe. So inspiring, it changes your life. So beautiful, you wish it would never end. When that happens, it's something not to be missed. Shen Yun, an all-new production every year.
The performance was enchanting.
I feel better about the world. I feel uplifted.
It touches you. It really does.
The expertise of the dancers was really, really strong.
To know that it was live music was really fantastic.
We didn't want to miss this.
Make sure you see it.
Have to come. Life-changing.